Right then, everybody. Hi, it's Lisa from Barclay Jones here. I hope you can hear me okay. If you can you please go to your chat facility on the GoToWebinar control panel and just say hi and tell me where you're dialing in from. Lovely. So we've got Megan. Hello. Lovely. So it looks like people can. We've got Dublin. We've got Colchester. We've got Warrington. We've got all sorts of interesting places. Manchester, Reading. I'm waiting for some kind of continental. What's the word? Continental location, and it's not happening for me right now. I mean, Edinburgh's pretty damn good. Cardiff. Maybe Sterling. So we've got top to bottom. Someone saying European. So somebody at least make it up. Is anyone going on holiday next week? Because if you've got kids, then you'll be blowing a load of money on unnecessary flights to spend a week with your children, which is probably going to be more intense than you can possibly imagine if you work full time. Fill in the boxes if you're going away next week. We're off to Morocco. I'm quite excited. All good stuff. Getting lots of jealousies, lots of unhappy faces. Brilliant. All good. Right, welcome everybody. I'm going to introduce a lovely lady called Julie now, who's going to talk to us regarding APSCo. Hi there, Julie. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. I'm calling from London. It's a bit grey, and I'm going to Hampshire next week with the children, so that's exciting, isn't it? It's not quite as exotic as Morocco, I'm afraid, but there we are. So to welcome everyone to today's webinar. I represent the Member Services team here at APSCo, and for those of you who don't know who we are, APSCo is the specialist trade body representing organisations involved in the recruitment of professional talent. And we provide a range of innovative services designed by many of us who are long-standing recruitment experts. And these include lobbying government on legislative issues, providing support on businesses' commitment to CSR, and provoking thought-leading discussions through the provision of meetings, seminars, conferences, and exactly as today is your experience, these fantastic webinars that Barclay Jones hosts. So I am delighted that we're again partnering with Barclay Jones. We've got Lisa and Wayne joining us. And Barclay Jones is a leading consultancy specialising in social recruiting, consulting and training, and it supports recruitment leaders with practical strategies to boost their business. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Lisa and Wayne so they can provide us with the insight into ROI in recruitment and what it really is. So back to you, Lisa and Wayne. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Julie. So hi, everybody. I'm Lisa, and we've obviously got Wayne on the call as well.
Hi, everybody. My name's Wayne.
We obviously run Barclay Jones, and what we do is we work with recruiters on their recruitment technology and digital marketing projects. Overall, we make recruiters more effective at what they do. We help recruitment leaders grow their businesses, and we help marketeers within recruitment basically be awesome at what they do and develop leads and those kinds of things. And all the things that we're going to cover today will kind of allude to that. So let's just stop pitching and let's move forward. So before we move forward, I actually want to know who you are. Now, what I don't want is your name, because we've kind of got that already, but are you a recruitment leader, a marketeer, a recruiter, a technology leader? What is your function? What is your reason for being within the business that you operate in right now? So if you can just fill in your chat boxes, that'd be great. So we've got a nice spread, a recruitment headhunter, of course, scary people that you are going around with masks and clubs. Obviously, lots of marketeers, which is brilliant, recruitment leaders, training, IT, MD of a recruitment company. Lovely. Oh, thank God. Oh, really good. Some good job titles coming through here. Thank you. So that just gives us a bit of a taster as to what the session is and who we're pitching the content at. The next question I've got for you is, can you just give me 1 or 2 goals for this year? So you're sat down, tucking into your turkey at the end of the year with a smile on your face because you've achieved some fantastic results. What are they? Now, I don't want to know what your turnover needs to be. That's your personal business. But is it increased turnover? Is it increased headcount? What kinds of things are you really going to be very excited about delivering this year? So we've got increased turnover and project profit coming through, increased revenue, definitely. Diversifies business streams, absolutely. We're working with some oil and gas companies right now, and they're really going for diversification, which is important. Increased key accounts, brand awareness, marketing experience, launching new products, optimize, exclamation mark, fantastic. More ROI, thank God that you're on the right we're on the right session today, increased headcount, etc. More innovation, great word to use in our sector, because sometimes we can be accused of being probably a bit too traditional, or maybe taken to systems and maybe using them in too traditional a way. Brilliant, some really good goals. Okay, so we're actually going to have some polls because we want to collect some data today. It's obviously all confidential, but one of the things I actually want to know is, are you actually looking to increase your headcount this year? Now, what I want you to do is press the button that's going to pop up on your screen. So bless, some of you have said yes, I love you for that, but why don't you grab your mouse and just whack the screen for me as well? Now, if I'm honest, when I hear people are wanting to increase their headcount, the first thing I say is, really? Because what I actually see when I go into recruitment businesses is that not necessarily that we need to increase the number of staff. We think that by increasing the number of staff, we're going to make more money. But actually, sometimes what we need to do is just improve how we do things. And I know that's a big sweeping statement, but most recruitment leaders that I speak to say, actually, if we could make our staff place 1 or 2 more candidates each per year, then I won't have to go through the hell of recruiting, inducting, training, and potentially firing, and all the disruption that comes through recruiting for yourself, because cobbler's shoes is an excuse I often hear in the recruitment market, where we're just too busy servicing our clients. And that's a great excuse, but it doesn't help us grow our business. So interestingly, 95% of the people on this today are looking to recruit, which is obviously a good sign because it means we've got money in our bank and we want to obviously invest in our businesses. So we like that. Okay, what I'm interested in next is, could you actually put enough pressure on your team that they could actually place 1 more candidate per year? Really, come on. This is whether you're contract or perm or long-term temp maybe. But again, I really want you to think about this. Could you really say to your team, right, come on everyone, we're turning the volume up here. Can you give me 1 more placement? And what I want you to really think about, you don't have to answer this question on the poll, but if you did actually do that extra placement, what would that mean from a turnover and profit perspective? Because I want the leaders on this call to really think about that. We've got an education recruiter on our books, and they admitted that if each of their consultants made 1 more supply teacher placement a year, they'd put 300 grand on their profit. Now, think about that. I'm not suggesting we don't hire any new staff this year, but I am suggesting that return on investment, and investment is in staff as well, sometimes just needs to come from within, and maybe just changing a couple of the things that you're doing to make people more effective. Everybody thinks that they can do more with what they've got, and too right. Okay then, so let's move on. So you're on this session because ROI isn't just a word that we're banding around 24/7. We are really in the market now for looking above the parapet and doing some interesting stuff. I often come across clients that are paralyzed by options. And I actually met a lovely guy about 4 years ago, a recruitment leader, and he said to me, I'm changing my systems, my processes are a nightmare, my consultants don't know what they should be using at what point, the workflows are a bit of a mess, my marketeers don't quite know how to use the data, there's so many options and not enough process, and they're paralyzed. And I grabbed that, and I've written a lot about that since then. Equally, when you hear the lovely Greg Savage talk, and give me a yay if you're a fan, because I certainly am, you'll hear him talk about the fact that recruiters are short-term junkies. And I see this every day. I sent a tweet, I didn't make a placement, therefore Twitter is crap. Well, recruiters make placements, Twitter does not. And as much as I absolutely advocate best practice use of digital, I absolutely advocate that humans make placements, not systems. So actually, sometimes we need to think about using our systems to achieve certain goals, but ultimately the human's going to be there. Also, what I'm hearing too much of still, even 16 years into my tenure as a recruitment bod, is that we're still surrounding ourselves with comfort blankets. We're buying stuff because it's, can I just have this? Can I just have that? And my recruitment leaders that I work with every day are a bit fed up of all the money they're having to spend to do something that if they were doing the job, and this is always the rub, they wouldn't need any of that, would they? She says, because they can trade off the back of a fag packet with a post-it note and a bit of wit, because that's what we used to do in the good old days. It wasn't that easy. But obviously everybody wants to grow in 2016. Everyone wants more profit. So we're running this session because it's about the I. I got very excited about the concept of the investment, because often what I'm hearing is, what's the ROI? And my question is often very flippant. Well, what's the I? What are you actually investing in this process? Because often I hear people aren't prepared to spend money on social media, but they expect to make loads of money from it. I'm not convinced that that's a rational thought process. but actually we are spending something on social media. We're spending 2 other things, and we'll talk about that in a second. So there's often not a cash value associated to your investment. And of course, I would suggest that, especially the marketeers that I work with every day, that we are setting budgets and looking at the time that we're spending on stuff in order to attain a cash value. And that's when we need to figure out what the return is. Because often we're measuring our return on investment in a monetary way. We're saying that the only thing that turns us on is the money. But actually, in all of the work that Wayne and I do with recruitment leaders, IT leaders, marketing leaders, the same themes are on every single project. Let me give you a case study. Having a chat with a lovely lady who runs a 20-person recruitment business. And she has got a CRM system that doesn't work for her. It hasn't been working for a couple of years. And the entire conversation, and it will remain anonymous, was not about how much money she spent. It wasn't about the opportunity cost of the wasted money. It was about how stressed out she was. It was about how she felt about the fact this project wasn't working for her. It was affecting her ability to grow her business, and that was upsetting her because nobody goes into business or into a job to have a bad time. And ultimately, we rarely initially have conversations when our clients ring us to rescue them, which are about, I've wasted loads of money and I need to make loads of money. It's not about that. It's about how they feel and how much time they think they need to spend on stuff. And then the money is almost a secondary issue. It's not the thing that keeps them awake at night. And I really want you to think about that, because we see these emotions, the kinds of things coming up in front of you. This dominates the work that we do with our clients. And I think this is important. Just have a read of those. And feel free to communicate through the chat. Are any of these jumping out at you as something that you might be feeling on a daily, weekly, by minute, monthly basis? Are any of these issues? Give me some feedback via your chat. Okay, so we're getting LinkedIn is definitely a risk. Some of our clients often find that painful growing is not really what they signed up to. What we often find as well is that some of our leaders are quite embarrassed really about potentially the state that some of their systems have got into, and they're really worried that their staff have lost faith in their ability to look after them. The invisible data is coming through as an issue. Asking everyone to use social and not expecting them to deliver it back to your CRM is just a really crap strategy, because your clients have exactly the same access to data as you do. So let's at least ring fence it, make it worth something and turn it into an asset. Data seems to be a really big deal for you guys. Should be. Marketing can't work without data, and IT's job is to collect and conserve and protect it. And obviously a recruitment leader is to flog it eventually. So we've promised today to talk about several things. You've signed up to hearing about recruitment tech and digital marketing, but you've obviously want to know how we're going to measure ROI. And we've given you some ideas here, and obviously you want to hear about some strategies. So we are going to give you some takeaways. So I need you to hear me when I say, grab your notepad and pen, write some stuff down, because at the end I want to hear about what you're going to do differently. I'm going to hand over to the lovely Wayne Barclay now, my business partner, who's going to talk to you all about ROI from recruitment technology.
Okay, so my team and we work with recruitment leaders across the UK and the world, looking at recruitment technology, looking at things like CRM, looking at things like job board posting and data capture technologies, and helping them trying to get more from them to basically try and get more recruiters effective. So the first poll I'm going to ask you to quickly update is going to be, do you have an in-house full-time IT resource? You can just click the buttons on there. That would be really helpful. Now, what we generally tend to find is that those businesses that don't have in-house IT resource, they generally struggle with configuration of the system, and they generally struggle with the issues and the problems that come through from the business. So in relation to that, that generally means that IT is managed by the managing director and managed by the senior management, which generally causes quite a lot of stress. So interesting results, about a third of you have full-time in-house resource, about 2/3 of you don't, which is great. Some of you are saying it's outsourced. How do you find that? Is that a good service, a good option for you? Okay. So quick question, in your questions area, if you can just quickly note down, what CRM system do you currently use? So we have lots and lots of different ones in there, all the usual ones, which are Bullhorn, ePloy, Chameleon Eye, RDB ProNet, Adapt, PCR, interesting. Beautiful. Okay. So then, what is the biggest investment from a technology perspective? What is it that people are doing on a day-to-day basis with their technology? So many businesses invoke CRM projects. They provide go-live support, and then they expect people to just kind of get on with it and use it. So directors give some thought to managing the post-go-live process and the post-go-live issues and the problems that are going to occur. And they give a little bit of thought about ongoing support, but they don't give enough, in my experience. To a certain degree, the go-live process is the point at which the project finishes, and we always have to say to our clients, no, actually, it's the point at which the project starts. Directors are very good at sometimes abdicating responsibility with regard to what else needs to be done. There's your CRM system, they get on and use it and start making me money. So as directors, what we always have to say to them is, you are responsible for this project. You are the board sponsor for this CRM system, this investment. You have to get it working for the business. So it's your responsibility to try and help users change their habits, change their behaviors. You have to help the people within the business really sell the benefits as to why people should be using it. If you don't do it, then they kind of have to figure it out themselves, and that's where potential discontent comes from, and where the issues start rising. So some quick pointers here. To get ROI from a CRM system, you really do need to put a post-go-live strategy in place that needs to incorporate issues logs. It needs to look at problems and how you resolve problems. It needs to look at a training program, not for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, but potentially for the next 12 months. It needs to incorporate what you need to do from new starters. Ideally, where you need to be is you need to get everyone at a standard which everyone is using the core functionality of the system, and they're following a really productive and proactive recruitment process. Then after that, then you can start introducing really interesting bells and whistles. So things are like looking at data management and business intelligence, etc., etc. The other key thing is that management, you really do need to understand how to use the system as well. It's absolutely critical. If you don't use the system and you're unable to tell people as to why they should use the system, then they won't use the system. They're responsible. Well, why should I use the system? You're not using it, therefore I will use the bits of it that I think I need to use from it. So the best bit of advice that I can give directors and recruitment leaders is make sure you really get to grips with the reporting facility and the management information that comes out of that system. If you're able to regularly, daily checks, morning checks, afternoon checks to see what activity the consultants are doing and also how they are developing their pipelines, then you're able to start involving yourself in their day-to-day activities, and you're not just asking them questions, you actually got physical evidence of that. Okay, my particular favorite. Recruiters who bypass a CRM system and insist on creating their own correspondence actually end up wasting a huge amount, a significant amount of time across the business. So we worked with a client recently. We calculated that they were spending, a consultant would complete a first interview with the client. We calculated that over the course of a day, they were spending about 30 minutes a day bypassing the CRM templates, so CV sends, first interviews, consultant interview letters, etc., etc. We worked out that actually 30 minutes is quite a long time. Multiply that out, that actually equates to somewhere in the region of 5 hours per day for every 10 consultants that you've got, which ultimately equated to about 1,200 hours a month, no, a year, apologies. So ask yourself, what could you actually do with your recruitment consultants if they had an extra 1,200 hours per year? you'd hope they'd be on the phone. So let's ask you the question. Let's put it into the actual question. What would you expect to get from a return from 1,200 hours per year for every 10 consultants? More placements, that would be a fairly standard one. Here's an interesting one, more time on the phone. The average recruitment consultant in a day spends around about 2 hours a day on the phone. So for businesses who rely on building relationships, a lot of that relationship now is done on emails. So ideally, you should be picking up the phones. More placements, happier workforce, not duplicating efforts, better job matching. Some really, really good. Some good answers there. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of case studies about where we've worked with clients and the benefits and the ROI that they've got just from using the systems more productively and more effectively. We recently worked with a client who was asking for some help in and around getting the users to use the system more effectively and looking at the processes that generated extra revenue. What we found is that actually by using the systems and by having support, post-go live support, and also a defined training program in place, which meant everyone was working at a very similar standard, they actually increased the number of placements per consultant by 0.8 placements per consultant per month. Doesn't sound like a great deal, but over the year, that worked out to be £30,000 of extra profit, just pure profit, which actually equated to, this was a 10-man recruiter, exactly 10-man recruiter, that was £300,000 on the bottom line straight away. So, and that was just by having a clearly defined training program, making sure that the directors were aware of the systems and aware of how consultants were using the systems, and looking at the management information specifically. Organizations who have very, very good processes, people who log all their notes every time they speak to a client or every time they speak to a potential lead or an opportunity within a business. What they found is that when people leave the business, it means that you're able to very quickly take over the responsibility. You're able to hand your key accounts or your clients over to either new people that come on board or alternatively established people that are, may sit in the team and are aware of what needs to be done. Now, ask yourself, what's the most precious account you have? What's that worth? Well, for a particular client of ours, it was worth £1 million, just over £1.1 million. And when this person left, they were immediately able to very quickly go onto the CRM system, look at all the notes, look at all the history, look at all the things that have been done, produce reports, and very quickly assign that client over to a new recruitment consultant. Now, they fully admit that had they not had all those notes in place, that they would have lost that client. It's a very, very important one. Make sure you get your information into the system as quickly as possible. And finally, lots of people quote this, but you don't win business on the first conversation. It is the 8th, the 9th, the 10th conversation where eventually the client says, actually, yeah, you can help us because our other supplier has let us down. Or they say, yeah, we've just eventually won this piece of business, and you guys are saying quite good. You saying proactive. So it's on the 8th, 9th, and 10th conversation that you actually win that piece of business. We had a client who phoned us recently in a blind panic saying that one of his best recruiters was leaving. But what the business had done again is make sure all their notes were updated into the CRM system, and it just so happened that a new consultant picked up the accounts or the leads, and on the 9th call, they made the 9th call, and then the client said, actually, yes, yeah, we've listened to what you've had to say, and we've actually now got 52 sales executive positions, which was a pipeline of somewhere in the region of £350,000 worth of potential business. So making sure you log notes in the system is really, really important. Okay, one of my favorite ones is sourcing. Lisa always goes on about sourcing, and sourcing is one of those areas whereby you spend a lot of time desperately trying to get away from sourcing from within your own CRM system. What you tend to do is you go to the job boards, you basically go to LinkedIn, you'll go to Twitter, you'll go to the GitHub if you're an IT recruiter, and you'll try and source all this information. You'll try and source from those job boards. What we tend to find is that actually 75% of the candidates that you find outside of your CRM system, when you upload the CV, the system doesn't create a new candidate, it updates that candidate. So actually 75% of the candidates are already on your system. So if you've got a system which you're using and you're keeping up to date and you're coding up correctly, then you should be able to source directly from your CRM system very, very quickly. So one of the key things that we always say is make sure you code up your data, your candidates, your vacancies, and your client data all needs to be coded up in a very strict and strict fashion. So just some of the things that you can do in order to get ROI from your database. Here they are. Tell me whether or not any of those you either are planning on doing or whether or not you're liking or would like to do in the next couple of weeks. A lot more data related. Everyone wants more data. They want quality data. CRM should be an asset. It's a very, very good point there. So ideas for your strategy, things that you can do immediately from today. I would suggest that you need to make your recruiters more effective. So you need to understand where they are within their training cycle. What do they currently do? How are they currently using the system? Where is there room for improvement? If you understand that, then you can start putting personal development plans together to actually help raise the bar for recruiters and make them more effective. Everyone wants to sort their codes out. Everyone wants to basically say that, you know, we've got too many codes, we need to stream that down. Sort your codes out. It's fundamental, absolutely critical to get quality data into your system and clean up your data. So get rid of all the rubbish that's currently in your system. I've got a client who says their data strategy is an inch wide and a mile deep. I love that phrase. I think it explains exactly why you should use a CRM system, because it shows that you know a lot about your candidates, which really gives your clients confidence when you're selling them into your clients. Record lead conversations, we've explained why. Use templates, stop wasting time. Think about those 1,200 hours that you could get back. And leaders, you really do need to understand the reports, the dashboards, and the management information that's coming out of your system. So, recruitment sources and recruitment technology, how to get ROI, it's not about just uptime. It's about what you're doing with the system and how your users are interacting and what data they're putting into it. Make sure you get users involved in the business-led goals. What specifically are you trying to achieve from your technology? Make sure that people are aware of what it is you're trying to achieve. Don't just give it to them and say, off you go, let's go and make some money. Give them defined goals as to what they should and shouldn't be doing within the system. Ultimately, your CRM system is one of your biggest purchases and it's one of your biggest ongoing costs. And if you don't use it correctly, it just becomes a significant cost and you get no value from it. So really look at how you can use the system effectively. So IT resources, they deliver ROI. So money, clean data is very valuable to a business. Don't add thousands or tens of thousands of candidates to the system. Be very, very specific with what gets added to your database. Drive recruiter effectiveness, so spend more time with your recruiters, getting them to explain to you exactly how they're doing things and what things could be improved to speed up their recruitment lifecycle. And happy recruiters will share knowledge. They will share best practice. 20 to 30% of the training that is done is by the person who sat next to them. So make sure that they feel loved and that therefore people are sharing information across the business, and then leaders, ultimately, you'll also feel very loved too, because people will come into you and saying how wonderful your database is. Hopefully there's been some really useful bits of information in there. It'd be great to hear you. Feedback, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. I'm going to pass you back to Lisa now.
So I'm hoping you've been taking notes. What kinds of things are we going to be doing differently as a result of this from a recruitment tech perspective? Obviously, people want to make more placements, etc. People are telling us as well that they're going to be monitoring the numbers of new candidates added to the database each week from today. I mean, I definitely advise my clients that adding the whole of LinkedIn onto your database. One is illegal, not that that stops my clients from making risky decisions, but it's also a bit stupid because LinkedIn isn't that accurate either. It's a fantastic bit of kit and it can make a big difference to the recruitment lifecycle. But it's not really what you're flogging, is it? What you're flogging is a very sophisticated process for getting someone into a business to make a difference. And therefore, your database is key to that. Moving on to that, though, obviously, we've got the digital marketing element. So I work with marketeers and recruitment leaders every day, helping them understand how to use tech to market their business more effectively. We make them really independent. And we actually have a recruitment marketing academy where at any given time, we have between 20 or 30 marketeers in the recruitment world being mentored and trained by us to basically be recession proof. And we can talk about that some other time. So I've got a poll for everyone, and what I want to understand is whether or not within your business you actually have a full-time marketeer that actually runs your stuff. So if you can just press your little buttons for me now, because I know keeping you awake today is going to be, a challenge. It's Friday. Some of us are going off on holiday. Okay, lovely. Now, if you listen to Greg Savage, and most of us do, he says if you have 6 recruiters or more, you need a marketeer in your business. I tend to subscribe a little bit higher than that, maybe 10. When we start working with the recruiters that have got coming over that 10 mark, and let's not forget there's a big study done by James Kahn and Broadbean last year, it's basically saying that 75% of the UK recruitment market will never get above 10 recruiters because the leaders of those recruitment firms just don't seem to have the mechanisms within the business to move them over that tipping point. 75% of the market is less than 10 recruiters. That's a lot. So when we come to 10, we tend to find that if they're not marketing themselves effectively, they will never reach that tipping point. The recruitment leaders will never get out of delivery. They'll never be able to sit in a boardroom and just give instructions without actually having to get back on the sales floor. And interestingly, 30% of the people on the call don't actually have marketeers within their business. I want you to really think about what that can mean to the goals that you have this year. I did actually speak to a 40-man recruiter about 3 months ago who told me that their job wasn't to market themselves, their job was to sell. Suffice to say that my relationship with them wasn't going to work out because I genuinely believe that every call you make, every appointment you attend is marketing. But that's as fluffy as I'm likely to get. Right, let's move forward. Thanks everybody for answering that question because we love collecting data because it allows us to talk about stuff online. Now, I've done a lot of stuff with APSCo and I love working with APSCo because they really do allow us to have a voice. But sometimes I also get to go to fantastic events. And if you do follow me on Twitter or blog or anything like that, you'll know that I regularly talk about Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure he's got a different way of pronouncing his name. But he swears a lot. I'm known for doing the same, but I try not to do that on webinars. But actually, he got pushed really hard a couple of years ago because someone who was a real skeptic when it came to digital marketing said, oh, what's the ROI? What's the ROI? And he was in a presentation with me about a year ago, and he actually came out and said it's the biggest crock of horse shit. Sorry, everybody. I'm just quoting. I'm allowed to quote, aren't I? When people talk about ROI. And he actually said he compares the ROI of digital marketing to the ROI of your mother. Priceless. I'm kind of not in that camp. I kind of get it, but I don't think it's good enough. And I don't think as marketeers, if we're going to be recession proof, and this was also for the IT leaders in the room as well, if you want to be recession proof, if you want people to look at you every day and kiss your boots for generating business and generating ROI, you need to be better than what Gary is saying. You really need to try harder. So my view is, and I said this, I'm working with a director of marketing for a big global recruiter at the moment. And he said, I'm finding it really difficult to generate ROI or to demonstrate ROI. He said, I know what I'm doing is working, but I need some hard facts and figures. So I've kind of just given up. And I said, well, just because you think you can't doesn't mean you shouldn't try. So we're going to talk about how you actually measure ROI. But obviously what we have talked about is it's not just money, it's your emotions and it's the time that you can create, because time's the one thing you actually can't recycle in this world. We recycle everything else right now, but you can't recycle time. But you might be able to create some by just making people around you more effective. So metrics for me are really important when I'm working with marketeers, and my recruitment leaders that engage me to mentor their staff say to me, Lisa, make Jane, make Jim more effective, because right now I don't know how to manage them. I don't know what they should be doing, and they actually need some support. And I'll say, yeah, let's crack on. So the kinds of metrics that I'm really interested in, yes, community sizes are important, and I start always with set some targets notch them up by 50%, and then do it again, and then do it again. Because once you start focusing on community size, not just the amount of tweets, your community will grow, and you'll have some strategies to help you with that. But eventually, and it doesn't take very long for me to get a bit bored of that, I'm then interested in, are people actually looking and doing anything with you? Now, someone's asked about community size. So what we're talking about is the number of people that you might be connected with on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn followers, your Twitter followers. And by the way, if you're following, in my view, more than 50% of the people that are following you, I tend to stare at you very hard. Because as far as I'm concerned, you don't need to follow someone on Twitter to be followed back. That's a webinar for another day. You need to be just more engaging than that. You need to be able to walk through the club and people turn their heads. Most recruiters I work with are able to do that. But then I'm interested in impressions. Can people actually see you? Are they engaging with you? Now, the challenge in a lot of, especially permanent recruitment markets, is that people engaging with you online is very, very stupid. Because what they're saying to their boss and their mum is they're on the market. And most people are not stupid, and most permanent candidates are quite risk averse. So I always say to my marketeers, impressions are very important because you can see people looking at you, but they don't have to press buttons and show everyone that they're doing that. So the engagement levels might be quite low unless you've got the most fabulous content plan, which is all about them and not about you. We'll save that for another day. I want you generating leads, and I kind of want the IT departments of the world to do this as well. Wayne and I, when we first met 16 years ago, basically we're IT directors of recruitment firms, and I was never allowed to be, complacent about why I was there. I was there to make sure that my boss could buy his new Ferrari. That was my job. And so I made sure that all of my projects were delivering that goal. And I'm being genuine in that statement, not just metaphorical. So I want you guys to generate leads because that's impressive, but I want you not to just generate leads and go, well, that didn't work, did it? Because they're not converting them. I want you to work with the people that you've handed them to, because bless their hearts, they may not have been trained to deal with a warm call. And I know that sounds like a strange suggestion, but again, Greg Savage is like one of my idols. He will say cold calls, whatever, warm calls are better. But most of our recruiters are trained to deal with cold calls, but dealing with warm calls, they just don't seem to get the kick out of it. And I'm a salesperson. I kind of feel the same sometimes. I quite like the chase. Am I allowed to admit that? But people in recruitment tend to love that. And if you're in marketing, you might want to raise your hand that you've maybe handed over a lead to a recruiter and they're not done anything with it because they're too busy hammering the phone. But the biggest thing I need you to do from a metrics perspective, you lovely people, is to write down the fact you've generated that lead and take the credit for it. You might never get paid for it, and I'm not in the market for talking about that today. Maybe that's another webinar for another day. But I want you to log it somewhere and remind your community internally that you've generated that return on investment. So they're the kind of metrics that I'm interested in. In terms of the strategies that you can deliver to help you look amazing, deliver return on investment, remember, happiness, time, and money, adverts are key. We run some fantastic sessions on writing awesome adverts, and marketing are normally the ones to sponsor us on that. You are also absolutely responsible for recruiter effectiveness, because invariably most of the marketing teams and IT teams that I work with are responsible for the tech. They own the tech that the recruiters use, and long may that continue. But please don't just manage it from an administrative and operational perspective. Dig deeper. Outbound marketing, we've kind of forgotten how to do that. We used to be amazing at that 15, 16 years ago. We used to have massive post rooms where we put huge rafts of paper in and out with spat loads of folded envelopes of stamps on. And now, because we think we can tweet to 65,000 million, billion, trillion people, we think we're doing a great job. No. Outbound marketing is crucial. I've even got some clients handwriting letters now, and it works. So never be complacent with your digital marketing. You may need to go back to basics. Downloadable content. So why are we giving content away for free every day? Why is it when I start working with people, I'll go through their blogs and their great content and go, no, get that off your web, get that off your web, or rather get it off your blog and turn it into something that's email gated. In other words, in order for me to read it, I've got to give you my email address. Why not, if it's great? And then you give those email addresses to the salespeople in the teams who are trying to attract engineers, who are trying to attract clients who want to work with contractors more. And there's also something called lead analytics. Now, you may have come across something called leads forensics or A1 Web, etc. And what these systems do is they tell you when certain companies are looking at your website. whether you use this for internal recruitment purposes, i.e. which recruiters are looking at you, that your internal recruiter needs to look at and headhunt from, whether you're an education recruiter and you see specific schools looking at your website, so you know there are teachers potentially looking to move, or a headmaster or mistress looking to recruit. I don't care what you use it for, but use it to get some intelligence. So here's 5 key strategies, bloody hundreds that we can look at, but we haven't got time. So there's 5 just to get you started. But I want to ask you a question as well about whether or not you're actually spending money, because often the LinkedIn recruiter license is a big topic. We get calls every day from clients saying, I either am thinking of buying it, or I've had it for 12 months or 10 months and I'm coming up to renew. And maybe the reason I'm about to renew is because I'm worried I'm going to miss out if I don't renew it. And I'm not sure what the return on investment is. Can you come and help us with that? Now, we do work with LinkedIn. We are LinkedIn partners. So we are advocates of the system. We don't sell it. We sometimes help people understand how to use the free product better. We often work with recruiters who are spending money on premium or recruiter to get that return. And we often set targets for recruiters on how much money they need to make before they get it, how much money they need to make to continue using it, and how much money they need to make before they renew their license. It's no different. I wrote a blog recently about, recruiters don't expect a return on investment. They just expect it. They just expect LinkedIn to be something that they get when they start their job. I'm not a fan of that theory. I think if you've got a Ferrari, you need to know how to drive it, because they're very expensive bits of kits to wrap around a lamppost. Lots of people using LinkedIn Recruiter, and this number is growing. I wrote a blog a couple of days ago about 6 predictions for digital marketing within 2016 within recruitment. And one of my predictions for LinkedIn Recruiter is we're going to start getting fussy if we don't make money from it, and rightly so. So good stats there. Thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. Another question for you actually is whether or not you're using any job board software. So let me just get control of my mouse. Can you please just grab your mouse and click on one of those buttons for me? Now, we actually work very closely with Broadbean. And again, just like LinkedIn, we go into clients who've got things like Broadbean and say, oh, come on, you need to do better than that. We've been using Broadbean in our lives probably since about 2002, 2003 when it was first launched. We were, myself and Wayne, when we worked together as IT directors, we were one of the first purchasers of the system, and even then it was groundbreaking. Since then, it's got lots of really good competitors, so it's made the market really competitive, which we love. And whatever system you've got, it's obviously worth knowing what it can do. Now, some of you are saying other. Can you just go into your boxes, please, and tell me what other actually means? Lovely. So some of you don't have a job board posting system. That's fine. We're certainly not going to judge you on that, but it's a very common thing to have in your business right now. Fantastic. Right then, the reason job boards are important to us is because they cost us a flipping fortune. We regularly go into businesses who are trying to cut costs and get a return on investment, but are just worried about turning things off. Because they've got so many things. We said at the beginning that our fear of missing out means we're suffocating in the heat of the comfort blankets that we've invested in. And we don't actually know. We're a bit worried about peeling a couple of layers away just in case we're going to die of hypothermia. Oh my God, Rhiannon, if you're listening, please write that down as a blog, because I need to write that soon. Big thing for us, and has been in the last 2 years, is job adverts. And the reason for that is because they're broken. Now, a lot of people are saying to me they're dead. They're absolutely not. It's just we've forgotten what their job is. A really great job advert should return ridiculous amounts of investment. They should keep your clients in their boxes. Because if you just take a spec and advertise it, you're telling them that you're not interested in spending time pitching their role, that they can do just as good a job as you can. You're not creative, you're not imaginative, and taking 3 days to advertise it after they've given you the brief is telling them that you're not interested. And then you give them some CVs and ask them for 20% or 15% or 8%, and they're saying, what have you done? I've not really seen you do anything. So a job advert should keep their client in their boxes and demonstrate to them that you're awesome. The second thing it clearly should do is attract passive and active talent. It absolutely should show your competitors that working for you is a good idea. Should do loads of stuff. But what does it do? Costs us loads of money. probably gets us reversed to spam. We send out a crappy job advert and we get loads of crap talent back. And then all of a sudden our systems grind to a halt. Our IT and marketing leaders are face palming themselves, all because we didn't invest enough time in the job advert. You write a great job advert and you find 5 great candidates, you'll place 5 people through one advert, because you can then do what we call candidate marketing. And we've somehow forgotten in some sectors what that is. We used to do loads of that. But I want you to mentally be adding up how much it's actually costing you to advertise jobs every year, because it's not just costing us to write a job and post it. Think about the hourly rate. It's costing us to post it onto job boards and LinkedIn and etc. as well. But ultimately, it's costing us to sift through the spammers. And again, time, money, happiness. When I say to clients, how do you feel about the job adverts? They don't necessarily come to me and say it's costing me a fortune. They say they just don't work, they drive me nuts, they take up too much of my time, they make me unhappy. And again, it's that return on investment thing that we're here to talk about today. Think about as well your marketing resources. So Wayne talked earlier about your IT resources, because a lot of the time my clients say to me, and I've got a tickly cough, so I'm going to pause for a second, bear with me. My clients say to me, look, I need to get some return on that 25 or 50K I'm spending. So here's some ideas that you need to think about. I want you to raise your expectations. Marketeers are very capable of delivering money into your business. You just need to figure out how. If you let them into what your goals are for your business and you make them deliver strategies around those goals, they will return value. Ultimately, let them, and this is often the problem, we don't expect our marketeers to deliver convertible leads, and therefore we don't challenge them to. Think about how you're going to get them to do that. Think about how they can create time to allow your recruiters to become more effective. What projects can they engage with the systems that they invariably have bought and purchased for you and drive? LinkedIn Recruiter, job board posting software, websites. What can they be doing to create time in your business? And ultimately, how can they make you happy? So I was with a client the other day and he said to me, Lisa, help me with my marketing strategy. And the reason I want you to do that is because I was at an event the other day and it was like an IT recruitment event, and he said a few clients and a few competitors said, we're seeing you everywhere and we think you're doing a really, really good job. But the reason he called me was because actually he's got some issues with his marketing department where they're not performing as well as they could do, and he knows that one day his community is not going to be saying that anymore. So he wants to remain happy. So we promised to talk to you today about 2 things, recruitment tech and digital marketing. We promised to talk to you about ROI, and I'm hoping what we've done is position the fact that your return on your investment is all about the investment you make in time, money, and emotion. Sounds a bit fluffy, but that's what we're seeing every day. I hope we've given you some really good pointers as well on the kinds of strategies that you can actually press buttons on right now to basically either become recession proof, keep your bosses happy, sell your business and buy a yacht, whatever your goals might be. So tell me, give me some feedback. What are you actually going to take away from this session today? Go into the chat facility and give me some ideas about what you're going to do differently. Someone's just said, offer me a job. Well, depends what you're offering, doesn't it really? Using systems more effectively, look at job adverts. Someone's just going to laugh out loud. Is that just some sort of hysteria at the opportunities? Look into job boards. Look into using CRM more effectively. Get some real strategies around IT. Share CRM costs with the staff. This is actually quite important because we obviously, as support mechanisms within businesses, within marketing and IT, we're massive advocates, by the way. So whenever we tell you guys off, it's not because we're feeling like really important. It's because we're kind of like, come on, be better. But often what we do is we keep a secret what we do. We kind of just, we're subtle in our approach, maybe. And what I often say to all of my clients, whether they're recruitment leaders trying to improve their brand, marketeers that need to be better at their own PR, IT people as well, is we've done your jobs and you will not get thanked when things get really difficult in your business unless you have been telling people what you do. I always say, if you're going to police your business as a marketer, if you're going to police your brand, you'll never get thanked. But if you protect it and you grow it, you'll get your hand shaked every bloody day. You've been given loads of tips today, and it looks like someone's going to kick their marketeer into touch. Please don't quote me on that. It looks like you've taken loads from today. So I really hope the return on the investment of your 30, 40, 50 minutes today has been worth your while. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of going to events. I go to a lot of events either to speak or to work on my business because I have to keep my brain going. There's a few more events coming up, and again, bless APSCo for sponsoring them. So we've actually got, with the marketing forum, a great forum on the 22nd of March, an APSCo event where I'm going to be talking about a lot of what I've done today for about an hour and a half. God help you if you can last that long. But I actually had Prosecco at the last event, so I'm like, I'm going. That's my return on my investment. We've also got a really good event for senior marketeers within the recruitment industry to come and pay to hear 6 keynotes on the 28th of April. There's more information on our website about that as well. And also we are big fans of Louise Triance's UK Recruiter Technology Showcases. They happen twice a year and the next one's on the 16th of June. So myself and Wayne will be there and you'll get to see loads of recruitment tech and you'll be able to really put them through their paces. Now, if you want to know more about how we do stuff, you can find us all over the flipping place. But if you actually want us to get in touch or drop you a line with some information, can you just put the words ROI into your chat facility and we'll arrange either a call or we'll drop you an email, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to speak to us next week, though, you'll need to come out to Morocco. So what about that for return on investment? I could hold some meetings on a beach. I'm actually going to learn to surf next week. And if anybody knows what I'm like at standing up, they'll probably absolutely wet their pants. Right then, thank you so much, everyone, for today. And thank you, APSCo, for sponsoring this particular event. Really looking forward to bumping into you. Feel free to catch up with both myself and Wayne on LinkedIn as well. And we hope to see you on our next set of webinars. Take care, everyone. And thanks again for your time. Enjoy your Friday.